what it do,
what it is.
It is what it is, and if it isn't, then it's not supposed to be. Okay. Nimengoja kusema hiyo for a minute. Welcome to the bearded
conversation.
Hey, tunaji confused.
No, it's our bearded conversation, but we're giving our confessions.
Yeah,
tunaifanyaga
proper.
Kama ulikuwa unatafuta wa kuichapa mpaka yenyewe.
Hey, we're about to invite some people up in here who are going to
do the thing.
Do the thing, man. They're going to do the thing, man.
Like
anyway, but I think I watched that video. Yeah. And I think the one thing that pissed me off kabisa was the guy who was recording. Like it was like he was doing it for posterity. I don't know. Like, you know, when you're recording something, it's like you want to keep it and go and rewatch. Like in my mind, I was like, it's messed up. You know, like is it that our generation has gotten to a point of just anything that happens, before you help, before you do anything, record, then after that start doing something? Or I think for me, I was just like, someone needs to, like a guy should have just stood up for someone. I don't know, you know, like.
I think, well, it's, okay, we can sit at this comfort zone and say, this should have been done, this, but we all know, including men, when borders gang up against you, whether you're a male or a female, those guys have no remorse and they have no structure that they follow any protocol when an accident occurs. Yeah. They are rowdy, they are violent, and they attack and they pounce. It's always like a go-to response for those guys. Yeah. So I do empathize with what happened, but I also am cognizant of the fact that that sector has been unregulated for such a long time, right, that such an occurrence is like their default response to any incident. But they always just gang up.
And I think they realize the fact that they can do that and no one can do anything about it. Because, you know, it's, I mean, you're in numbers, yeah. You when you come in numbers, no one is going, people are going to be like, hey, my guy, what's going on? You know.
By the time the government says 70% of them were unlicensed after the crackdown, 70%. Can you imagine? 70% of the road drivers were unlicensed.
Don't have,
chaos.
Are not known by anyone. Like it's messed up because, just to give a story, my cousin went to St. Mary's Yala. Yeah. And when he got there, you know the way Jangos call Form 1s. So
yes.
Rabon.
Yes.
So he was told Rabon Bika, like Rabon come here.
Rabon is viazi.
It's viazi.
Sweet potato.
Sweet potato. So he was told Rabon come here. So the guy goes like, my name is not Rabon.
He was standing up for himself.
Yeah, he was standing up for himself.
Came to the wrong neighborhood.
Guys are like, who does this guy think he is? So again, same mentality. The guys came in a group
and ganged up against him
and wanted to beat him up.
Yeah.
He told them, kujeni moja moja. Mkikuja hivi nyi wote, mtanipiga. Sikatai. Lakini kujeni moja moja.
I want to deal with each one of you individually.
Let me tell you, they all walked back and went away.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing that is happening over here. These guys have realized, let me put it
mob psychology.
Mob psychology. Yeah. They've realized, if you do this together, no one can do anything to us.
And you know the sad thing about mob psychology is the aspect of de-individuation. As an individual, you no longer reason, yeah, or you no longer are guided by your principles. Yeah. As long as you're in that mob or in that, yes, you identify with what they would naturally do as a herd. Yeah. So that's why you'd find they would easily start groping her, start assaulting her, and it's not even a case where they're trying to resolve the issue. And this is something I came to realize, by the way. Male privilege exists, one. We are very privileged, and then two, many men feel entitled to women's bodies.
Many men.
Many men. So that sense of entitlement to a woman's body shows the lack of respect we have for women and shows that we're raising men who do not care about women. And then society also has categorized women as the weaker sex. And so many people feel, one, as I said, entitled, and they feel like I will always hold power over these women.
Yeah.
So
Putting
I have
them
no
in their
reason.
place.
Yeah, I have no reason to respect them.
Yeah.
This woman cannot tell me anything. I mean, she was wearing something that can be removed. What's the point of her having her clothes on if we're in a struggle? Let me strip her bit. So it's mad. And 2 years ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, I used to go to lunch in a kibandaski. Not that I have changed. I still do go to a kibandaski. But
we don't know. We don't know.
But in this particular scenario, I went with a colleague of mine, a female colleague. So I told her, hey, it's lunchtime. The rest of the team were not going. So she told me, we can go because she was also hungry. So I was like, so let's go. And it was, for those of you who are familiar with Ngong Road, it was our office was next to Greenhouse. And we used to go for lunch at Toy Market. So that's like a 10-minute walk through the Toy Market and the Adams Shopping Center. We went for lunch, finished, came back. I'm going about my business in the office. Before I sat down, she told me, by the way, Richie, I want you to know, this is the first time that I have walked that stretch without a man either trying to katia me, abuse me, touch me, grope me. I was like, wait. What do you mean it's the first time you've walked? She said, because I was in the presence of another man, no man tried to touch me or grope me.
Right.
And it got me thinking, is it that bad? So I did like a small, test with some of my female friends. I asked them about their experiences. And all of them, Johnny, all told me they don't feel comfortable just walking. That's the day I realized male privilege exists. Yes, in broad daylight at lunchtime, 1 p.m. This is how I realized male privilege exists. I have never, ever thought about how my dressing would affect the people I meet, especially strangers.
Yeah.
But for her, she was telling me she has to pick her outfit deliberately, knowing, is this showing too much? Is someone going to try and touch me? Is someone going to try and make a sexual advance or gesture towards me simply because of my dressing? So it takes so much time for them to prepare in the morning. They might pick an outfit, change, ask guys just to wake up and go.
Dress and bounce.
I never thought a simple activity as walking would be a struggle for someone that would give them trauma, would give them anxiety. We are just walking as men. No one cares. We are not even worried. Like, it doesn't even occur to us that there are people who cannot just walk from one point to another without fearing that someone is going to abuse them, sexually touch them, or try and just infringe on their privacy.
But
we're not here to talk about it.
We're not here to talk about that. This is not even our show. Please.
Someone else can do this better.
Yes.
And we sat there, we can sit and give our male perspective all day long. But we wanted to hear from those who are affected directly and how they feel. And so we got our friends. And today we're going to be trading our beards for something more softer. For baby hairs and braids.
And
edges. Laid edges.
And laid edges, That's why this seat is empty. But we're also going to vacate the premises.
Ladies and gentlemen, her.
All right, girls. The first question I was going to ask is, has any of you watched that video?
I have it on my phone, but I haven't watched it.
I have actually watched it. One of the things I did a long time ago is I insisted that I would always face the trauma so that I remember the pain and I will use that pain to inspire me. So I watched it. Let me tell you, I was at a training, job, and the minute I watched it, I literally remembered 1st June 2019. I had just released my first song, Rise Again. It was about sexual assault and rape. We've released it and I had gone for Eric Wainaina's gig at the Elephant. Yeah. So obviously you take a cab. Yeah. It's like 1 a.m. Yeah. When we figured, on the way the guy was asking me questions like, where are you going? Because I was talking with my friend on the phone. I was like, I'm not going to come to your place. I'll just go home. So he kept asking me, why aren't you going home? Those funny questions. I'm like, but he had put worship music. Specifically Michael W. Smith. So I was like, okay, huyu ameokoka.
Draw me close to you.
Yeah, surely huyu ni wa kanisa hizi nifanyia mavitu. So we figured, he parked the car, I paid him. I remember it was 300 bob. And I had I usually wear a sling bag and I had a bomber jacket. And then as I'm going to open the belt, nigga just puts his hand in my hair and then pulls me, and then it becomes a full-on attack. So when I watched the video, and I managed to escape before he did anything, and I hid, and then it was just a mess. And I remember watching that video and literally feeling, because for like 6 months after that incident, I could feel his fingers in my hair, I could feel his fingers on my body every single time anyone touched me. And so I thought I got over it, because now it's 2022. You know, I've gotten over some traumas. I listened to her scream, the first scream, and I felt his fingers on my body. And I'm in a room in Limuru, and they're doing a training. And that whole day, mpaka ifika home, I remember just going to my husband and crying and telling him, I've remembered the guy again, I can remember his face, I remember everything, yani. It was just reliving that day. And I went to Twitter and I just wrote, my heart just goes out to that lady and just any other person who's gone through these traumas. Because every time that happens to anyone, you're just taken back.
Yeah, I know. And you know, when you talk about cabs, I'm glad I didn't watch it on Monday because I was getting onto a cab at night. I was getting home at about 9:30. And I get home and you know the first thing you do, let me debrief by looking at Twitter. I'd not been online the entire day. And I'm looking at Twitter and everyone is mentioning that those screams are still in their heads. And I remember that moment my mom sent me the video. And I'm like, Mom, why would you send me this? We were attacked last year when we were the two of us. I was going to drop my mom home. We get to a junction. I have right of way. But the guy, you know, you see, some people insist, you're like, it's been a long day. I don't want to fight. So this guy cuts me off and then stops smack in the middle of the road. So me, I'm like, what the hell? So I hoot at him once because I'm like, still keep moving. Like, I mean, they even cursed behind me. Keep moving. So the guy now that I've hooted at him, and it wasn't like those long hoots, it was like pee. And then guy chucks, comes to my window. My window's a bit open, so I don't really open my window at night. My dad, security features, he's a security freak. And so he comes to my side and he says, get out, we fight. Ooh. What? So I'm looking at him like, what the hell? So my mom is like, is this guy mad? So me, I'm like, you know what, I don't have time. So because there was a leeway between his car and the other side, I just pass in between the car, we go on. 1 minute later, I'm seeing a car right behind me. Like he had a Land Cruiser with like the strobe lights and everything, and he was smack behind me like this. Like any moment he would hit me. I'm telling my mom, look behind, this guy is right behind us. Go over that, he overtakes us, comes in front of the car. I reverse, pass the car again. He goes, passes me, now reverses, comes at me like this, like he was straight up going to hit me. Gets out of the car. When he's doing that, I managed to get, there was no one on the pavement, so I managed to get onto the pavement and then pass him, and then I sped all the way home. I knew by the time we live near a place called Dog Unit, so there are cops there. I was like, if anything, I'll just drive straight into that place. But I remember getting home and being so disoriented, being so shaken, because this man saw two ladies and was like, you know what? I could, and you know, at that moment, the house help is like, you should have called dad, because my dad, I knew he was in the area, and my dad will come and fight. My goodness, he will beat someone up.
Time to think of the
you see, that's the thing. I didn't even take the number plate of the car. That's how shaken I was.
If you were alone and you were not a good driver.
That's the thing, you see, because for me, it's instinct, it's skills I've taught myself, it's skills I've learned. Somebody else would have frozen in the moment. My head was like, I need to get my mom and I out of danger ASAP. We are facing a madman. And I remember my brother calling me afterwards and he was like, why didn't you call me? I was right in the area. But I'm like, bro, I couldn't think about it at that moment. Because for him, he's thinking, my mom and my sister, how dare that person?
But you see, I think one of the annoying parts is that when a man views a situation, they view it from their perspective of, you could think in that moment. But as a woman, automatically you're thinking, worst case scenario, this guy will rape me and kill me.
Or what if he has a gun? You know,
I'm so defenseless. So the only thing I know is run. So get myself out of, because I remember even me, I just ran out of the car. I went into a bush. I went into another gate. By the time, like, I'm recollecting, where is the house?
Yeah.
It had been a while, you know.
It's so sad because when I actually took time before I watched that video. Like, I just read reviews of people over and over and over on the internet. And I was like, you know what? I'll watch it. And for me, one of the biggest questions was, what is the connection between me hitting a rider and my clothes being stripped off?
But let the law take the full course.
Why are you... Not even that. What is the relationship between you touching me, groping me, and that I have hit? How is that going to...
No. Did you actually see their boys, and I'll call them boys, I don't care. They're boys who came in, kwa shot, just grabbed her boobs and then just...
How has that helped the rider who was hit? Exactly. What is it?
And then did you notice they had already taken the key? So I was imagining, what if she was not buckled in kwa belt? I was just like, that belt saved her. Because if that belt was not there, like in my situation, I needed to free myself to get out. Her, she needed to stay in that car until help came.
And I'm glad nobody really managed
to open the belt because she doesn't have the keys. She can't lock the door. Even if she locks the door,
they break the window.
But so the discussion, I think for me now is that privilege, and Kina Johnny have talked about it, male privileged. And I'll throw this in. If I were a boy, or if I were a man, what would life look like for us?
Oh, life would be so much different. Let me even tell you. Yeah.
Looking home.
Yeah. Let me tell you. Wow. I would not have to think about one, dressing according to where I am going or the means that I am using.
Or who you're meeting.
Or who I am meeting. Because one, like today alone, I was going to different places. So in the morning I took a cab. And I wore specific clothes because I was going into a cab. I get my car where it is, and now I can go home and change into whatever I want because I'm in my car. Yeah. And I'm just like, if I'm in a matatu, I have to dress a certain way. If I'm going to the CBD, I have to dress a certain way. If I'm going to the mall in Karen, I can dress however the hell I want.
Let me add this layer. I have to package my body for the men to consume it in different ways.
Yes.
And let me break down. When I go to church, I have to package my boobs in a certain way.
True.
So that they don't bounce too much.
Don't even talk about the church.
So I have to wear the right bra, to wear the right dress, just so that even if I'm leading praise and worship, it doesn't bounce too much because they're already big, so they'll bounce.
Yeah.
That's what they're made for.
It has to be not too much.
Not too much, you know? And then
we don't want to make the men fall.
and then
because they'll fall.
if I'm going to the gym or I'm working out, I have to wear a bra, then wear something else because we're gonna jump. Now I don't need you get what I mean? Like I have to package my body features for the man to consume in the way that I want him to consume because he has no capabilities to process in the right way.
And you know, let me tell you something my professor said when I was in campus. And he said, if you have no ability, if you do not have the ability to control your emotions because you're hypersexualized, you're akin to an animal. That is the only thing that...
Hata wanyama wana seasons.
Exactly.
Hawakwangi hivyo all the time.
Because, and that brings me to the topic of toxic Christianity. We're going to mention it here because it is important that we talk about it. There's a page that I follow, I keep forgetting its name, but they address a lot of toxic Christianity. And they talk about the sexualization of women so that we are protecting our men. But then the Christians don't talk to men about their
responsibility to control themselves.
Moral.
It's a fruit of the Holy Spirit, but it seems men don't eat that fruit. They're allergic to that fruit. They should not be served with that fruit.
It is not on their table.
It cannot be on the menu.
You can't put it there.
I mean, it's moral incontinence. Let's talk about it as it is.
But let's think about it like this. And I challenge that because I've worked in Christian organizations, and I remember we were at a retreat and the ladies were being told to have to wear bikers in a swimming pool. And I asked the HR and I asked the ladies there, if if he cannot control how he perceives me in a costume, a biker will not help him. So the subtotal of the problem is actually him. If he, and the Bible says, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. So if your eyes are the problem, cut your eyes off. But what we've grown up being told, it's my responsibility to ensure that, as the woman, that the man is comfortable in worship, he's comfortable existing. So I have to make sure my body is packaged for him. To consume.
It's so crazy because most of the time you find that that time ties into a lot of our insecurities around what I was going to say as my second point, that if I had a beard, I would not have to worry about walking alone. And it doesn't matter whether it's daytime or nighttime, just walking alone. And every single time I ask someone this question, when you're walking, do you look around you? I asked a guy this, and he said, no, I just walk. I mean, it's walking. And for me, I'm thinking, when I'm walking during the day, I am afraid I'll be catcalled if I'm walking alone, or I'm going to be abused if I ignore someone who gave me unwanted attention. Then let it so happen that it's dark. Not even night, just dark, like at 6:30, 6:37. When I'm walking, I have to think, who is in front of me? Who is behind me? How big are they? How big are they?
How many women are in the matatu?
How many women are in the matatu? And then again, do I have something in my bag that I can use as a weapon in case of anything? For the longest time, when I would walk home from the stage where I am dropped off by matatus, and then don't forget that our employers don't care that you're leaving work. You can, you know.
The men go home, so?
You know, you can't just say that how you can't go home late because etc. Because every time you're walking, there's always someone who will come up to you. And it is crazy because I have to always be conscious about it. When I get to the stage, I'm worried about the conductors pulling and pushing me and groping me in the name of ingia kwa hii matatu.
But they will not grope a man.
They will not. Inakwanga boss.
And then actually it's like the
boss ingia. If it's a lady, madam, and when you refuse, kwenda huko wewe hata ukaipo. Who do you think you are? I'm like,
you reminded me of an incident this week. Two things happened this week. So Thursday, nimetoka with my husband, we're in town, and then because I take matatu za Limuru, that cast, you know the way you go down the stairs and then that's a stretch. So there's one makanga who, there's one makanga who has sumbuad me since last year. And the first incident was he grabbed my hand while I was in the matatu and grabbed my rings and said, are this valid? Kama si valid, tutakuonesha. So I remember being so angry, and I made my boundary and I reaffirm it every single time. So every time, like I see him, I avoid him. And then there's one makanga who noticed that he really sumbuas me. So when he sees me walking down the stairs, he comes and helps me get to the matatu safely. So on Thursday, I was passing with my husband there. And then, there's many people in town. So he was holding my hand and then he let go of my hand and I panicked. I was like, this is the wrong place to let go of my hand. I know. So now I'm trying to move past people so that I get to him, so that I hold his hand, because I know that guy is in this stage, and I want him to see I'm with someone so that he won't talk to me.
You want him to see that you're with a man, because men respect men.
Exactly. He will not approach me.
They don't respect a woman.
Exactly. So this is Thursday, that happens, and I didn't see him. So Friday morning, literally, I fika like this. Now the light skin guy who helps me get to the matatu is not there. Like, and this man comes and does what? He grabs my hand, pulls me, and then puts his hand on my waist. And I am like, do you have to touch me? And I shouted. Do you know the minute he shouted, he said, kwani you've been sexually assaulted, hautaki kushikwa?
Lord of heaven, this is why we need weapons.
I was like, and this is Friday yesterday. I was like, what the? Put the cover my... Yeah, like... I stood there, and then now people are looking at me, waiting for my response. And you know, my first instinct was, how do I package this information that he will not attack me more? So that he soaks into that information, but I still put my boundary. And then I got home, and I tell my husband the story, and I asked him, did I handle the situation right? Because again, I'm just like, should I have exploded? Should I have...
And do you know what happens when you explode? Actually, what happens when you explode, there's always one thing I dislike totally, one thing that irks me, is there's always a guy there saying, achana na huyu, anakuanga hivo. Or there's another one saying, huyu ni mlevi. Or something. Or they tell you, madam kwani unadhani ni wewe wa kwanza.
That's dismissive.
I'm like, what?
And that's one of the things. If I was a man, I would not have to deal with microaggressions.
Yeah. One thing that I found very fascinating, for a small bit of my life, I lived in Belgium. And then one time, a friend of mine who was Ugandan, we were walking from church and she said something I never thought about. She said, you know what makes me so happy about living in this country? I have never been catcalled since I moved here.
Hey,
and you know, I sat down and I thought about it and I was like, it's so true.
Anyone watching this, you have money, send it, I go. I'm done.
Yeah. But I thought about it and I had never experienced that from the time I moved there to the time I left. I never experienced. And the moment I stepped into Nairobi like this, I remember
the air.
Yeah. My goodness, we are back here.
Yeah. Welcome to Sexual Assault 101.
You know, the funniest thing, people will say, maybe it happens to young girls, I don't know. But you know, it happens to our mothers as well. Imagine. Our mothers as well, it happens to them. I've seen it happen to my own
like
mother.
This. In 2019, there's an 80-year-old woman who was raped, and then they took her crutch, put it inside her, and perforated her uterus with it. And I was just like, what?
Sorry,
it's a bit graphic, but
when I say animals, this is exactly where
But you see, even animals, like I have dogs. I'm really a dog lover. Anyone who's a dog lover, you're from heaven. I'm a dog lover. And my dogs, when they are doing their thing, they're very delicate. Hawakwangi na manini
wakona utu.
Wakona utu. Lakini binadamu.
And the worst thing is that, you know, when my professor was talking about the animal thing, he was saying the difference between human beings and animals is that human beings have will and intellect. That is those are the two gifts God gave us. Yeah. But some we choose not to use them.
No. Some men, inakwanga hapo back seat. Friends, just sit there.
Let me tell you one thing that I would say. If I had a beard, I would never have to worry about living alone. I'll tell you this.
Tell us that.
I have a story. You've been waiting for this story. Let me tell you, I don't think I've ever shared this on a public platform, but I moved to a certain place in Dagoretti Corner in 2017, around there. So I moved into this house and I'm happy. I'm living alone.
You know, the joys of being a single lady in your own house.
I moved from a bedsitter to a one bedroom.
Wow.
You're like, oh my
baby girl.
Which room do I sit in today?
You know? Where do I put my bed?
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm excited about living alone. Then just next door, two gentlemen move in. I'll not even call them gentlemen. Two idiots move in.
Yes.
So let me tell you, it's the idiocy for me. So this guy is moving, and I meet these people like almost every day because, I mean, we live in the same building. Yeah. We go to work in the morning, or rather, I thought they go to work. So we meet and all that thing. Then a neighbor of mine told me, another lady who lived like across my house, she tells me, I thought I saw one of the guys peeking into your house. I'm like, what do you mean? Peeking into my house? Then I'm asking, what time? In the morning. And you were in the shower. I'm like, okay, what? That sounds like crazy. The lawyer in me loves evidence. So I'm like, you know what I will do? I'll put my phone somewhere where I can record whatever is happening. Yeah. So what I did, I was like, if this is someone telling me that, then first of all, I was extremely scared. Yeah. Because I know I live alone. Yeah. Yeah. They know I live alone because they've never seen any person walk in and out of my house, you know. They would get up, then because you can hear shower or bathroom water or whatever. So they would come. Literally, there was a rail outside my bathroom, climb on the rail to peek into my bathroom. That's not enough. As if that's not enough, they maybe, for instance, I've like drawn a curtain to my bedroom or my sitting room. They try and peek into the window. maybe whatever I'm doing. But you know, when you live alone, you can do whatever. I mean, if you live alone, you know. You know.
We don't need clothes.
Yeah, see must. So what I did, I woke up, then I went to my bathroom and made it look like I was showering. Yeah. Then I went to my living room into the kitchen, because from the kitchen, I could see my bathroom window. And literally, the guy climbed onto that rail, started peeking into my bathroom. Let me tell you,
I don't even know how to react to that, you know.
Me and her mother.
Have you ever been terrified? Have you ever been scared? Yeah. I was shaking. So I took out my phone. It was 6 a.m. I'll never forget.
Wait, so these guys have the time. This is time. Like I'm on my 15th dream at 6. Yeah. But you have the time to go and peek into somebody.
To wake up.
Yeah.
Get out of the house.
I took out my phone. Because I had already told the caretaker. I was told ABCD. So I called the caretaker. Because what happened, when this guy, I think, noticed I wasn't in the bathroom, got off the rail, came to my front door, tried to peek into my house to see maybe if I was in the room or something. So what happened, I was in the kitchen. I called the caretaker. I told the caretaker, I told you these guys have been picking at me. One of these guys is standing right outside my door. The gangster in me, the Madia in me, I grabbed a knife. Then I drew the curtain, because I couldn't open the door. I drew the curtain and I was like, unataka nini? The man has the audacity to tell me, nilikuwa nimekuja kuomba maji. 6 a.m. in the morning. 6 a.m. in the morning, you're borrowing water from my bathroom.
You see, he was trying to minimize your situation.
Do you know, literally, I walked out of the door with a knife. And I told him, I assure you, I am daring you. And do you know, but they could have used it. Because I was terrified. Yeah. First of all, I'm thinking, this man, there are 2 of them. If they corner me, I'm done. Yeah. So what I did, I got out, made noise. Have you ever made noise for the whole building to hear that there's something happening? Yeah. Then what happened, of course, people got out, nini. Then it turns out, people had seen that happening. That killed me even more, because I was like,
what did you do about it? You know,
someone is like, na hata mimi nilikuwa nimeona siku nyingine, sijui alifanya nini. I'm like,
so uliona alafu? Macho zako ni za.
But now to make it even worse, I reported that to the landlord. They were evicted a week later. So imagine, I have confronted you today. Yeah, I meet you tomorrow. Yeah. The other day, I would meet these guys at the stairs. And I'm thinking, I am alone. What if they were to decide they are going to attack me? Or I live alone. Yeah. I live by myself in the house. Yeah. Let me tell you, that is single-handedly the most terrifying experience I've ever gone through in my adult life. And trust, if I was a guy, I don't have to worry about
Buddha kuja to
First of all, would they even be peeking into my house? Would they even be peeking? Like, like what is this?
Or if you are a guy, you'd be helping them under the rail.
Yeah. That's also the other thing. It's the truth. But you see, it also brings me to the fact that people never speak up about these things.
And you see, we're observers, but we don't process it. I think one of the things and my mom we keep having this conversation with my mom and my father, is they didn't teach me how to process these things. Yeah. And let's go back to even the microaggressions and the minimizing my experience. Yeah. For example, a man comes and tells you, I want to sleep with you, I want your pussy. You can attack that. You know, I can respond to that and tell them, no, I don't want this is inappropriate. Yeah. But a man comes and tells you, like I've just seen on Twitter today, a guy got fired and he went on Twitter to complain that a chick got him fired because he said, you look beautiful today and your boobs look fuller.
And you know, for him, it's like, kwani nilifanya?
But they look, for him, in his statement, he says, but they did look fuller because she's from maternity, so I was just complimenting that. And I'm thinking,
it's not a compliment, dude.
So now, in that moment, you don't know how to respond because you're thinking, he says he's complimenting you, so he's covered it with a compliment, but it's offensive.
You see, that's the thing. A lot of men cover offenses in the name of compliments. Like, oh, but I was complimenting you. No, bro, you are offending me.
You have big boobs.
Yeah. Wow. Is that news to me?
The most common for me is when he says yangu. So
I
what do I
hate
do with that
I
information?
hate that one. I completely hate that one. Yeah, thank you. So what next?
Thank you. Should I?
Okay, so am I what? Who asked you? Who asked?
How did you conclude? What evidence do you have that your mass size?
Let me tell
could be smaller.
And you know the thing is, don't people say, oh, maybe it's the way you are dressed. This is a time I went walking with a friend of mine. So he says, let's go for a walk. It was about 6 in the evening. And on our way back, so we reached a point where he goes straight, I turn right. Let me tell you, it's at night. By the time you come back, it's like 7:30. It's at night. I'm in a hoodie. I've covered myself. I have a mask. I have specs on. I have
jumper, pants.
Pants, like normal sweatpants. This guy just left me 1 second later. Madam, when is size yangu? Do you know? And we had talked about it on the way. I said, the entire time I've been with you for 1.5 hours, nobody has disturbed me because I'm with a man. But the moment we've left each other, they have, and I can assure you, if I passed there with this guy, because he's huge, they wouldn't say anything.
But you see, men, when they are adjacent to us, they're like human shields.
Yeah.
But then again, are they? Because they're the same men who stay silent when these things happen.
Let me tell you, there's something I actually wrote down, and I think I wrote it from the perspective of how the Bible talks about women being like the weaker vessel. Yeah. And for me, I thought about it and I was like, my understanding is that we are created innately in us, there's a desire to be safe and comfortable. Yeah. And that desire, most of the time, the representation of it is by men. In the sense that when you're younger, your father represents some sort of security to you. A lot, exactly. So for us, it's an innate nature in us to want security, to want safety.
When you talk about fatherhood and safety, for me, I think even as a kid, the epitome of safety with my father was him constantly holding my hand. I am 30 right now, and when my dad holds my hand, I feel safe. And my dad has that habit. Every time unconsciously when we are walking, he holds my hand. Exactly. And it makes me feel very safe as a lady.
And that's what now bouncing off of that is, when you think about it, a man represents safety and security for a woman. So when that same man abuses or takes away that security, a woman most of the time has two responses. Either to eliminate that desire for safety and security, which is now what is happening with toxic feminism, where it's like, I don't need to feel safe. I don't need to feel secure with a man. You know, like I can do this by myself. I can offer myself a security that the truth of the matter is represented outside of us. The second response to that is eliminate the man. So I decide I do not need to be in a relationship. You know, I do not need to be with a man. Think about it from even the biblical perspective. The reason why the Bible ascribes that weakness, if you may call it so, is not because women do not have equality or the ability, but because God has created men as a form of security and as a form of safety, even for women. And I know there's some feminism who will come after me like, oh my God, no.
But think about it like this. The man was called to love.
That's true.
An expression of love is protection.
Safety. Exactly. When I feel loved, like a woman who feels loved will feel okay being vulnerable and be like, if you're around, say, your father or your boyfriend or your husband, you actually unajua zile za unaweza hata chokoza polisi.
And you know the funniest thing, when you're younger, you crave that relationship that has the butterflies and the what, and then you grow older, you just move from that to safety. When a man makes you feel safe in their presence, that is better than the butterflies.
So let me wait, Kwanza, so that we tie in that conversation. So then let's just talk about what men should call out. Because we need protection, clearly. Can men just show up? In those crises, one of the problems we have with that video is No man showed up.
Somebody
Boys
was taking
came.
a video, others were just,
watching,
cars were just
laughing.
passing by.
Others
Exactly.
wanted to be witnesses.
Yeah.
There was probably
I saw it.
there was probably
People
a couple of cops around.
There was a couple, actually
Yes,
there are
there's
cops
another
being
video.
investigated
Because
for
of
their complacency in that matter.
And that's it. So men need to just, first of all, show up and call out men who don't show up.
Yeah.
We can't have gone partying and then a man comes and gropes me and then you guys are keep on.
And you're not fighting the man. Like, you're pulling in an inside.
Like, you men need to just say, bro, umseme do it too. Let's go and deal with this guy.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Yeah. But also, I think one of the other things...
Let me tell you a story. Because when we were kids, I used to live in South Sea. And I remember there's a conductor who harassed one of our neighbors, a lady, a chick. She was like a bit older than me. And I remember the boys in our estate ganged up and went to look for that conductor. They're like, yo.
Tell me why my 20-year-old brother shouted at a grown man at a supermarket because he raised his voice at my mom. And he told that guy, do not talk to my mother like that. And I was looking at my brother, oh, you're so strong. Gosh, who is this? And this is the baby I changed his diapers, but
I know.
he showed up.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate about my younger brother. My younger brother is way younger than me. He's like 7.5 years younger than me. But that man would beat anyone for me.
He is a man. I love that even you called him a man,
he would,
yet his age would not.
He always says, no one talks to my sister and my mother the way they feel like. No one treats my sister and my mother the way they feel like. And I love that about him because he's a person I can feel safe around.
Exactly. But also extend that, because there's that discussion of if it was your mother.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not act like my small brother would do it for me only. Yeah. Can he apply the same to every single person, no matter who it is?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I have noticed that, and I think we are even discussing our other aspect of how men can create a safe space. I have noticed that most men will only act if they know the person that is being attacked.
And even, let me tell you, even sometimes they won't act. In fact, now some will rationalize. I've had men around me try to rationalize. Ama uli overreact. Ama uli, as in, maybe you should have seen it from the guy's point of view. Yo.
Which point of view?
Yo.
Which point of view do you have when you're groping?
Yeah. I'm like, there are no two sides of this story.
Can he see it from my point of? Can I grab his things?
Yeah.
So that he see, because I have seen if we do, the men who have experienced sexual assault understand.
That's the only, and they're always called CCs whenever they talk about it because. And it's very sad because I know people personally who've
gone through it.
Sexual violence as men.
They get it.
Yeah.
When we say, imagine no.
Yeah.
You get. Yeah. But why do they have to go through it for them to get it?
It doesn't happen.
But the other thing I think is men in the office space. Let's just talk about the office space. We could be in a meeting, and as a woman, someone says something offensive. Like, I worked for a company where they were in a meeting, managers, and they were saying how Libby should go for a trip with this guy and go and do a story, blah, blah, blah. It was in Marsabit. Cool. And then the guy says, nikienda na Libby atarudi hapa na mimba. And the ladies came out of the meeting laughing, unajua kenye nani alisema, ati akienda na wewe utarudi na mimba, chunga huo mtu.
Let me tell you, that you would have gotten fired. Fam, you're getting fired.
The HR literally gaslit me until that story potead.
And you see, that's the thing. And
the men in the room didn't do anything.
No, let me tell you, I have a problem with people in positions of power in organizations who don't take the victim side. Yes. Because they have normalized sexual assault, they've normalized sexual aggressions, they've normalized all these things. And for them, it's like, yo, grow up, get on with the story. Like, when you're special.
And it's that gaslighting of, because his response when because I had a verbal conversation with him and I told him, okay, so I'll come back pregnant, which means you'll have raped me because I won't have sex with you. You're not attractive. You're not someone I'm looking at. Mm-hmm. Okay? So it means when we go for the trip, you're going to attack me and you're going to rape me and I'm going to come back pregnant. So you've already committed yourself to committing a crime, and then now you're going to personal space and just, and then you're not going to pay for my therapy. Like, you have thrown me to the deep end. And you're laughing about it. And he told me, lakini Libby unakuanga serious, mambo yako ya advocacy imekuwa mingi sana. And I remember thinking,
May I tell you,
why are you gaslighting me?
You've not even had the end of it. I am going to make
And when
sure.
I was demanding for the HR to do something, they kept saying, Libby, you take things too seriously. So in that moment, I remember just wishing, not just men.
Their daughter.
No, it's not even that. I was just wishing, can you guys stop for a minute and think
Through what he has
what
said.
you are saying, what he has said, and process it from a legal front. I'm not even asking you to process it as a human. From a legal front, are you saying this guy is justified to go for a trip with me and I come back pregnant? And I sang at his wedding, guys. I sang at his wedding.
My goodness.
So he's married.
He's very married with a child. But
Or
I sang
a little married, as they say.
Just slightly.
earring and clothing.
A little married.
No. He's with one woman at that moment.
Let me tell you one thing about the workplace that I have found that creates a very unsafe space, and something that men could do about it. Do not assume that I am where I am just because I slept my way to the top. One of the things that I have found so rude for me is I am now going on to 4 years of practice. And every single time I tell someone, I am this and that. I work in this senior position, or I work in this, or I'm working on this and that. The first question, or among the top 3 questions, is who got you there? It's not about how I did it. It's about who got me there, or who gave you that opportunity, or who allowed you to be in that space. And even to make it even worse, I remember a certain gentleman who was hitting on me. Clearly, it didn't go nowhere, because this man, I tell him what I do. Then he's like, so do you plan maybe in future to start your own thing or something? I was like, maybe not, but if I ever did, I would do it like a consultancy. This man tells me, I'm sure you'd get a lot of clients because you're sexy. I'm like, wait. I'm like, then I was like, you know the way sometimes you're like, maybe I'm misinterpreting. Maybe I'm on a mini dempang. It is. So I asked him, maybe there's a compliment there. So I asked him, like, how do you mean? Like, because I told him, how do you mean that I would get guys because I'm sexy? He's like, most of these clients are normally guys. And guys, ukiwavalia tu skirt fupi, when you just wear a short dress with a cleavage, they'll just come to your consultancy. You don't even have to go and look for clients. I was like, first of all, sir, me and you can't work. Then number 2, the audacity. Because you're assuming that the only reason I can attract a client is because of my body. It's because I'm
virtually incapable of using my brain to attract a client, because all I bring to the table is my body.
Why shouldn't I have gone to University of Bodies to exemplify my body?
What was that degree for?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I did not get a degree. It was given to me because I slept with a lecturer.
But you see the irony of it, and I think for me, what is the icing on the cake is you expect that my body is the one that will do the work. But then, like me being a woman in a male-dominated industry, I have to work double to get the bare minimum.
Now, you see, also me, I'm wondering, when you think about it, when you think about it properly, when you tell me that my clients will come because of my body, those clients expect me to deliver. Will my body deliver?
Well, sexually, yeah.
No. I'm supposed to represent you in court. Will my body deliver?
I don't know. They presume for some reason you presume I'll just go before the judge with my lip gloss, with my hair and all, breastfeeding the nation. And I'm like, oh my God, I come in front of you, judge.
Whoa. Okay, so I'm gonna cut you short there and just say, I think the bottom line of what we're trying to say is, men, you need to introspect. And I saw something on TikTok that was very interesting, that very many men do not have personality because the bottom line of who they are is as an aggression or a response to a woman.
Yeah.
And for this, and I'll use this example, he is macho because of how he dominates his wife.
Yeah.
He is good in bed because of how he sleeps around with many women, He is built because of how many women he attracts.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? Like, there are men who don't have personalities. And I think for me, what I would say about, and to conclude that section is, one of the things I would love about men is if they could just get some character and personality.
Bring some personality
Just
to
develop
the table,
it.
baby.
Educate yourself.
Yeah.
But also just do a lot of self-reflection. And I think that's one of the things that we do as women. We reflect on, before I tell anyone any statement, I usually think about that statement and its implications on them and not its implications on me. Because, again, being a communication person, whatever I communicate is not supposed to be communicated based on how I understand, but how the person, the audience, is going to understand and feed it on it. So men need to think about, I'm going to tell this statement to a lady. How is she going to soak that in based on her worldview? And if I don't know that, can I find a lady who can help me understand the worldview and the response so that I tailor-make that information in a way that doesn't degrade her or offend her? And I'll even use an example of something funny I showed you guys. There's this guy I'm working with. He decides to text me a tweet of my husband that he posted. And he was like, your husband sucks. And I was like,
nigga, we gonna fight.
Partial lines have been drawn.
Nigga,
excuse me.
we gonna fight.
You
This is my
are not going
husband.
to minimize my husband or talk about my husband in any way just because you feel like you want to look like you're any better.
Macho,
Number two, I draw the line. No one speaks about my husband in any negative way because that man only deserves positive things. And if you have something negative to say, please take it to him. Why are you telling me? So at the end of the day, and I remember telling him, and his first response was, it's just football banter.
I take your banter to your boys. It does not belong in this space.
And I told him that's okay. You can tell him if he allows you, depending on the level of your relationship, to say such things. But in my space, that's a boundary. And men tend to minimize other men who are doing the right thing in that moment, just so that they look like they're macho. And that's what I think happened in that video. Is even if a man came and said, wase munadu, wachini kufanya hivyo, other men would be like, we mjinga, we nyamaza, we ndea ukae na wanaume huko, or something of the sort.
Wangesema kana wanawake. Because also there's a thing that I hate. Do you know that is the statement that has helped me the whole week? Kwani sisi ni wanawake. Mimi nikikuona ukitreat hizo vitu by the ex.
So maybe just
I don't take that nonsense.
Just to talk about how do you guys then think that men can create a safe space for women, or what should they do? Because then there's a lot yes, we've talked about calling out, showing up, calling out people and all these other things. But then what else can they do to create safe space?
I think one of the things that I think about constantly, aside from them calling out men, fellow men, is we need more men who are proto-feminists. Because I think this whole thing of now coming in and saying, oh, but all feminists are radical. Bro, you're a Christian, they're radical Christians. Bro, you're a Muslim, they're radical Muslims. I mean, do you keep calling them out every day? You still go to church every Sunday, right? You go to the mosque every Friday, and you do what is right. Be a proto-feminist. Show the women around them that you're an ally to them. Show them that you fight for them, you protect them, you secure them wherever they are, and make sure that they know it. Don't say, but I don't do it. Oh, not all men. If you say not all men, bro, I will bring you down.
The thing about it is people have to always understand that with every concept, there'll be extremes. The same way with feminism, there has been extremes.
But
It is
that's
true.
extreme.
Yeah, it is true that there is a lot of toxic feminism, which is
But the epitome of feminism was to advance the equality of women.
So
and that is what we are fighting for. Yeah.
That needs to be supported.
See, can I plug in this guy's the comments? Because I feel like what on the snap fingers comment section, just snap, and also just like write your comments. But yeah.
One thing I would also say is men need to consistently have conversations with ladies around them and ladies in their lives to understand what can I do to make you feel safe.
Or what am I
Because
doing?
what am I doing to make you feel unsafe? Because
Also, that is the most important question. What am I doing to make you unsafe? Yeah.
Because and I love this platform that we have been given by the gentleman.
Guys, we appreciate you.
Honestly, for real, because it's so rare.
People say you appreciate. I just said my preference is not.
We appreciate all bearded men.
That story you've been cancelled. Anyway, what I'm saying is forums. Wow. What I'm saying is forums like this are priceless for us as women.
No, but the fact that they didn't even want to be on the show to mandate what we're going to say.
That concept of
God must increase as I decrease. Hallelujah, somebody. Anyway, so that we're still born again. Please note, we love Jesus. We are going to heaven perpendicularly. Hallelujah. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, men need to find out, one, what are some of the things I have done or statements I have made that make you feel unsafe? Because I was having a conversation with a gentleman and he was saying that there are those things that you don't think are stereotypes until someone calls them out and you're thinking, but I have known this all my life. Because probably it's your upbringing. It's probably how you've grown up. You know this is how it should be. This is what you do. So the minute you speak to a lady and they tell you, when you say this, it makes me feel unsafe. When you do this, it makes me feel unsafe. Then again, ask the women around you consistently, what can I do to make you feel safe? The simple things. For instance, I've seen simple things like if you go out with a lady or you take a lady out and they order an Uber, ask them to share the trip with you.
Or
ask them.
Ask ladies simply. I had this conversation with my friends last week. All ladies, they have their own cars and they're okay, even dropping fellow men at home. But I said the men in their lives will never even ask once, did you reach home safely? And as women, I know we were making a joke about it, but that day when we left each other, I remember I texted and I was like, you know what? I'm going to text you so that I set a standard in your life for men to ask you.
Can I tell you the funny thing? My father, always when I travel out of town, he will call me, even if it's in the middle of the night, to make sure, did you get to Kilifi safe?
That's
okay.
As well.
You understand what I mean? But it makes me, and I'm like, I'm so old. Madam, I love you.
Do you know one of the things I have appreciated about where I work now? Whenever we get off work late and I have to get an Uber home, my bosses will walk me to the car and then check, including the boot, to make sure that the car is okay.
Wow, that's actually really nice. Yeah.
That makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it. One of the things that could make me feel safe from the men around me is if those men would be willing to hear all the toxic things that they're doing and not be defensive about it and accept that, hey, that's a different perspective and that's your experience of me and I can do something to change your experience of me. I can't change maybe the world, but Johnny can meticulously make sure that every woman around him feels safe. And he's continuously edifying that.
That aspect of defense, because I have had so many instances where I try to explain to someone, for instance, what I was talking about, not assuming I slept my way to the top. Then someone says, but there are ladies who sleep their way to the top.
There are statements that I hate when women are driving cars and they say, obviously aliniliwa na bonake ama aliniliwa na sponsor.
it's just that generalization. I
So
think
for me, that defensiveness comes in the sense that when I tell you something is not proper, don't be so quick to defend it. First of all, or dismiss it. First of all, take time to understand, why did you tell me that? And it doesn't, and we are not aloof, or we are not indifferent to the fact that there are actually some women who are also enablers of these issues.
Do you know what somebody said about the story of the woman who was attacked on Monday? She was like, women, if you are modest, it wouldn't happen to you. But this is a woman saying this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I want to conclude this session because I feel like there's so much we can delve into. But I think one of the things we need to do here is everyone who's just like literally just watching us, I think we need to have these discussions. This is not a one-off discussion, and I feel like the bearded boys, the big boys club, needs to continuously
Chill with the big boys.
No. Today we've chilled with the big boys. We need to have these conversations and not have locker room conversations that demean women, but let's have healthy conversations in every single space and talk about how can we men do better and how can we women also do better in this cause so that both of us are like aligned. Like the Bible says, two cannot walk together if they're not. Exactly. So let's be in agreement that, hey, there's a problem and let's discuss it. Let's figure out better ways to do this. And maybe then we can call you guys the big boys.
You want to bam.
Yes. And then
Maybe you can chill with the big boys.
Yes.
Then us, we can go to Dubai without worrying that somebody...
But feel free to go to the comment section and to the tip jar. Munakonga na tip jar nyinyi maboys. Ama bado.
I don't think you're being
Masaya tip.
I mean,
No. This video, we are here to begin
And yes,
the journey of
actually-
tipping.
Actually, it's important to note that this is not conclusive.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would say, if you feel triggered, before you go and become a keyboard warrior, search your soul.
yeah.
If you feel triggered by something,
Do that. Soul searching, baby.
before you go and be like, it is funny how.
But now, for today, just be a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
Comments.
Yeah.
Anything that you've learned new, anything
Yeah.
that has triggered you, anything that you feel
Any
we might have
experiences that
left
you're willing
out.
to share.
Yes,
Yeah.
and anything we can learn and let's edify
And
each
what
other
we
and
can
love.
talk about next time when we're invited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next time when we come
Like,
back. And then also write in the comment section,
Yeah.
you guys just want
You
some
want
braided
us
girls.
back.
Yeah.
Like we did a good job.
Like we
you guys
traded the
enjoy-
beards for baby hair,
for baby. Mwana nini?
the late edges.
Edges.
Yeah.
So trade them for the edges.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks guys. See you guys.
Bye.
We love ya.
Yeah.
Love you too.
Mwah.
Good job.
Yeah.
This is like what they say about the Bible.
Yeah.
No one should add or delete.